right, the levels should be pretty good. We should be pretty good. It is Tuesday, April 11th. Almost 2 p.m. EST. So it's almost 1 p.m. Central. And it looks like we are getting ready to take London's high here on the S&P. So I started just a minute or two early just to see if we can witness that right here at the beginning. At the beginning of the stream. So real quick, guys, we just started. If you could give me a sound check, that would be great. Well, the high's being met, but I obviously want to see us trade up and above that. So we should see probably 41.50. 41.50, we should be able to see it. Thanks, David. Thanks, David, for the sound check. Appreciate that. What's good, Sebastian? What's going on? So I can already tell today's probably going to be a little bit more of a discussion session because there was some decent opportunity, but that has come and gone. Oh, excuse me. That has come and gone for the S&P. And right now, we're like mixed all over again. So what I mean by mixed is this morning we saw the Dow rally and we saw the NASDAQ drop. Okay, fine. But now we're seeing where the Dow is sideways and it's trading above the April 4th high. So like if you zoom out, April 4th is there. That was a Tuesday, so we're above that. And okay, great. But it's up here consolidating. NASDAQ's rallying off the low of the day. And then the S&P is also rallying. And it just took this morning's high. So, you know, as far as what we're going to do right now, I don't know. I don't know. There was some decent opportunities in here. I marked up this orange box afterward when I came back from my personal lunch. And, you know, so I saw it rally and then I went, oh, okay, it's, you know, that must be a mitigation here. Like low, high, lower, low. We traded through that and then back into this up candle here. And then that's why I tried to start a minute or two early so we could possibly see that run here. And my original target a little bit earlier was 41.50. And that's why I'm telling you 41.50 again, because it's just a simple 50 level above a previous high. It's only a 1.5 away above that high. So to me, that just seems like an easy target to have. So as far as, again, what we do, like I wouldn't look to enter on anything, not for a long at least. So we are spending quite a bit of time above that April 4th high. We could see distribution on the Dow and maybe the S&P, because the S&P is higher here. So it is trading above that high. And so you can see that we have a high at 1205 and a higher high at 1 on a 5-minute time frame. And the Dow, that 1205 high is here, and a lower high at 1 o'clock. So maybe this is distribution for the Dow Jones. Maybe that's distribution for the S&P. It could be, but this is like a very similar situation to yesterday. It's like, okay, well, we may distribute. Okay, well, if we get a short setup, that's fine, but what's the target? And again, with today, what's the high probability target here? There's no equal low. We had equal lows, but that was already swept. So to me, it like almost negates that idea. We had really small time frame equal lows. If one of my personal students is on here, I had pointed this out a little bit earlier today on the Dow down there, but it was on a 1 minute time frame in this area, so we ended up never getting that. So okay, wrong on that, and that's fine. And but like, so what do we do from here? You know, is that still a high probability target for today? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's off the table for today. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait and really see, you know, what takes place. Which is why I think today's gonna be more of a discussion than pressing buttons, most likely. So there is that. If we look at the NASDAQ, it's not really running. It's running like a short-term high from this morning, but it's not above any distinctive high, like the A15 central high here. So I think it is a little hard to say. I think it is a little bit hard to say. What's good, Willow? What's good, Nick, Nicholas, and Naruto? Got a few snipers in the chat today. Very, very nice. Love to see it. Love to see it. And as far as the like relative strength goes, today is just another nasty day. You know, in the morning, Dow trading higher while the other indices lower. Now we're seeing S&P higher and the Dow higher, but NASDAQ lower. And then on small time frame, we're seeing S&P higher and Dow lower. So to me, when we get stuff like that, like what we're seeing today, you know, I'm not getting live, laugh, love kind of vibes, you know? How are we supposed to live, laugh, and love in these conditions? You know what I mean? Like, that's the question I ask myself. Every day. Every day. Can I live, laugh, and love in these conditions? And today, no. Not really. I took a scalp earlier, but it wasn't like a absolute banger, you know? So, but yeah. Keep closing too soon and I went my target. It was a sniper too. I understand. Let's go to Epic Skater, Ali. COT and price action tells me Dow's the most bullish on this leg up. What's good, Woodlands? Interesting name. I don't think I've seen you before, but welcome. I don't look at COT all that often. If I do, it's definitely not for intraday. It's definitely not for intraday. But yeah, I am not confident with anything here. You know, some of the here's the thing about really small time frame trading, okay? So if you look at, and this was right near 11 o'clock too, so sometimes those can be kind of shaky as well. But when we rallied up here at 9:30, I'm like, okay, well, we've got equal lows. We may come back for that later on. And then boom, we instantly run that. I'm like, okay, well, all right, what am I supposed to do with that? So we end up creating a higher high here at 10:24. We dropped down, and I'm really watching a 5-minute. I didn't spend too much time on the 1 minute, but I did eventually go to the 1 minute time frame. So we end up trading into that and then off of that. But look at this 1050 movement. You see this high body, okay? And then this high body right there. See that? And then look what we left behind. Huge imbalance here. Okay. And if you look close enough, we didn't have like a mitigation or anything there. Like, not really. But we did have this right there. Okay. 138 level. So that's an 8 level as well. Okay. So I look at numbers like that. You know, zeros, 20s, 50s, and 80s, and then 0, 2, 5s, and 8s. So that would be an 8 level there on the micro S&P 500 futures. Okay, so right there, bam, fills that in. Okay, that's where I longed. And then my first partial was definitely a scalp. In hindsight, I shouldn't have done this, but I went into it with the mindset of taking partial at new highs. It was just unfortunate that this new high was created here. So like 2 or 3 points, like nothing spectacular. New high, partial, we trade down, and then we trade up, and then this was a new partial as well at this high. Then we dropped down, and then we rallied one more time. I partialed into that as well, and then I went and break even on the rest. And of course the market comes back to get me out. But at that particular point, I was away from the charts. I would have broken even if I was in front of the charts either way. But at 11:36, I was downstairs and was having lunch. So I was like, whatever happens, happens. And so when I came back to the charts, that's when I noticed, like, because it started to fly, and I went, oh shit, that was like a mitigation that I didn't see. You know, I didn't see it. I didn't anticipate it. So I mean, it's fine either way. Okay. So that storyline there, right? Small time frame imbalance, small time frame gap imbalance, whatever you want to call it, you know, up to new highs. That was great. But this high was a longer term target, and we got that. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, and I'll get to your question in just a minute. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, even if we got this new high, that would have been either the final TP or the final partial, or I would have been still trying to aim for 4150 as a final out. Okay, so if that's the one and done, like for the day, that would have been the one and done for the day. Then I would in my mind go, okay, I'm not doing anything else the rest of today. But if I do end up taking a scalp and it's nothing spectacular, or even like a regular trade and it's a break-even trade, like, okay, then if I'm in the mindset of, well, let me see what I can get if there's anything the rest of the day, then I'm thinking, okay, well, let's wait for a high probability setup. So I'm kind of scanning things, I'm looking around, and this, I'm looking at, and this, like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, I know, excuse my language, but like, dude, look at it. Look at this Dow. Look at this. It's disgusting. It's consolidating above an old high. What am I supposed to do with that? Nothing. There's no equal lows except for way down there on small time frame, but that's for this afternoon session. To me, that is irrelevant unless we just absolutely start collapsing, which I don't think is gonna happen. So what is there to do other than wait? Other than just wait and journal, of course. Bullish on the higher time frame. Personally think Bitcoin is head of, I haven't even looked at Bitcoin, but hey, that's fine. Triple highs at 34.2. Is that the futures or is that the ETF? DJI, that sounds like the ETF. And you're talking about these, huh? You talking about those? I mean, that'd be a good long-term target for the Dow, 100%. I just normally don't long the Dow because it's usually the laggard. So the Dow might rally 10% in a move, and then the fucking Nasdaq's like 17%. You know, it's like wrong one. You know, wrong one. So the Dow is usually the wrong one. You know, when it comes to longs. So personal opinion, that's just what I found. I mean, you can go back and measure it. Measure some of these up movements compared to Nasdaq, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see a lot of the times the Nasdaq will outperform the Dow on the upside. And so for me, you know, gains are gains, but it's just the wrong one. So yeah, I could agree those triple highs at 34,400, 34,400 easy. I think is definitely on the table for the next few weeks, maybe a couple months or so. I don't know. That is quite a possibility. That I think would also send the S&P above 420. I know we talked about that 420 level a while back as well. Long time ago back in here. Back when we were like roughly at 380. But you would have had to sit through all this shit. No, I don't like that. I do not like that. Doesn't sound fun. Holding that. Can't dig it. Cannot dig it. Quite possibly one of the worst things that I would want to do. I would rather stub my pinky toe on the edge of my desk like 3 times than to hold jaw down for a few months. Again, personal opinion. Willow's waiting for that 420 level. I know you were waiting for that. I know you want that level. I know. I may not know everything, but I do know a few things. And that is one of them. Yeah. I think today looks like junk. I think it looks like absolute junk. I'd geek if it hits next Thursday. What's next Thursday? Oh shit. I just looked at that. So next Thursday is 420. So S&P to 420 on 420. If we get that, I will post that 100%. I will. I'll post that on my Twitter, on my Instagram, everywhere. I'll go, look at this shit here. Allie was born on 420. Sheesh. It's crazy. In a good way. Yeah, I don't have a cool birthday. Not like that. Not like that. Guys, if you want to see 420 on 420, drop a like. Drop a like if you want to see 420 on 420 for the S&P. So if you remember yesterday, and possibly last week, remember how sometimes we would outline like, oh, this might be a potential mitigation if we trade below that? Like that's kind of what I was watching here. Like, oh, distribute above old high, maybe. Like, let's see. And then we just don't get that, and we rally up instead. So it's like, okay, we're not bearish. So I guess we'll trade higher. But I don't want to trade. I don't want to long NASDAQ because it's our weakest today. That was our strongest, but we're already above an old high. I don't want to long above an old high. Like that to me is like, I don't know, man. I got some trouble with that. And the S&P, I mean, we could long. Like, don't get me wrong, we could. You do have like a down candle right here. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Okay. But to me, there's still that internal battle of longing after a major high has been hit. I don't want to do that. You know, longing below old lows or longing just after like your first break of structure, like right here, that would have been the better trade, personally. Obviously, this is hindsight. But looking back at today, at today's price action, from this low up to this high, I mean, it hit at 50%. If you measure this, like from this low, you know, that was like a 786 right here, 618, 786. Like that would have been way better because that pullback here never came back to the entry. So if I took partials at a new high and held the rest, I'd still be in that. But since I waited a little bit longer, the entry was fine. I mean, 1 minute wick entries are always great. Don't get me wrong, you know, but it's a problem when the higher time frame takes a pullback, because the higher time frame pullback might be a lower time frame. You know, it might look a certain way, or it might, like, that small time frame is going to be a deep ass retracement. You know what I mean? So getting in late is not bad. It's just, if you get in late and you try to go break even too fast, that's when you're gonna get fucking stopped out, you know? Appreciate the 420. Willow, thanks for that, much appreciated. Look at that, man. Scalping S&P and getting rich from the chat, man. Look at that shit. Up on the day. Up on the day. Appreciate it. It's always much appreciated, Willow. Thank you, thank you. Nick says he's gonna pull out the vape for that one. Yeah. I had a vape in the Navy. It wasn't one of those kind of vapes. It was when like vapes first got popular, like 2014. Maybe beginning of 2015. And that's when you had, like, you know, these goobers that were smoking and trying to create like big ass clouds and everything. Like that era. I had one. I think I had two, because I think I had one and then I lost it. And I got a second one. But yeah, looking back, that was retarded. That was stupid. But hey, when you're in the Navy and you ain't got shit else to do, bro, trust, you will find anything to do. You'll find anything to keep yourself occupied. Plus, I would do that shit to get out of work as well. They're like, all right, guys, let's get back to work. I'll be like, all right, yeah, I'll be there in a minute. I'm gonna take a quick smoke break. Be gone for fucking 2 hours. And come back right at the end of the day, like, all right, guys, we're almost done. Man, people used to get so mad at me for that shit too. It was hilarious though. And yes, it is called skating. Yes, it is. Boy, I had rollerblades on like a motherfucker, man. I was the skate king. Big time. Bro, I knew places on the ship that like nobody would ever go to. I would expand on that idea, but I do not want to get in trouble. I don't want to admit to doing anything that may or may not be deemed illegal. So we're gonna stop it there, but let's just say that on, you know, I knew places on the boat that most people would not go to, or I'd go to a spot where I would be able to tell if somebody was on the way. So then it would give me a few seconds of time to be able to look like I'm doing something. Or I do a little bit of work and then make it seem like I'm in the middle of something, you know? So like I could be doing maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes worth of work, not do shit for like 2 hours. And then if I hear somebody coming, like I get back to work so it looks like I've been doing something that whole time. Yeah, bro, trust me. I've done some, I don't want to say shady shit, but I've done some things that you would not, you'd be like, no way, you didn't do that. So we're gonna limit what we say on the internet, because you never know who's watching. You never know. John says I'm doing that right now. Is that supposed to be working? Golly. Sergeant Major on the stream. Well, I was in the Navy, so we had first classes and chiefs and some ensigns. Shit, dude. I got some stories about that shit too. Nothing crazy though. Nothing too crazy. Because in the military, for those of you that are listening, there are like basically two classes of sailors, or in the army, soldiers, whatever, airmen in the fucking Air Force, whatever. So there's always two classes in the military. You have your enlisted, and then you have your officers, right? And then of course there's like special forces and all that, but I'm not gonna get into that. But basically, for the majority of it, right, a lot of it is enlisted, and a decent portion of it is officer, right? And so, you know, for people like me, who were just young and didn't know anything, didn't have a college degree, whatever, we just enlisted, okay? Now, the enlisted and the officers, okay, we have different berthing areas, and a berthing is basically like your bedroom on a ship, or your bedroom on a location somewhere. So enlisted they have, you know, their thing, and then officers have their thing, or whatever, staterooms, yada yada. And so we didn't have lunch together, you know, we didn't sleep in the same places. And then also, even outside of regular working hours, you're not supposed to hang out with the opposite class. It's called fraternizing, right? Fraternization. So people still did it. I definitely fucking did it too, but you're not supposed to do that. So I remember one time an officer was driving me somewhere, and on the way back they were like, man, I'm hungry. And I was like, shit, I've been here for a while, like I know what's around, like let's just hit up the Subway on the way back. So yeah, we got our Subway and everything, and we're eating. And so we're leaving Subway, and she looks at me and she was like, we were never here. And I look back at it, I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And we never mentioned that again. Because again, you can get in a lot of trouble. You know, because the problem is, I look at it, and most of y'all would look at it like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can't have lunch together. Let me tell you how the military sees that, okay? I look at it as, hey, we went to Subway for fucking, what, 20 minutes to grab a Subway sandwich and head back to the ship. The Navy, however, the military, they would go, oh, so it was just you and her, like it was a date. Y'all went out on a date in public, fraternizing, right? And that's how they're gonna spin that shit. And then she would get in a lot more trouble than I would. I'd still get in trouble, but she would get in a lot worse trouble because she's an officer and I'm just an enlisted, you know? So, but yeah, I did a bunch of shit I shouldn't have done. Bunch of shit. Some of the shit I could have got, if I got caught, I would have went to, I probably would have went to prison, to be honest. Like, no jokes. There's a good chance that I could have been locked the fuck up. Leavenworth. Yeah. But I think that's enough story time for today. There's 4150. So there's that level we were looking for, which is cool. So had I not got stopped out on break even on the rest of this, I would be exiting from 4138. So that'd be 12 points, which is not a lot, but for today, I mean, today's range is very small. We've had like a 20, 25 point range at the most. 21, 22, right? 22 point range, not anything crazy for today. And days like today where the range is small, the risk in terms of points can be very low too. Because like if you go down here to that 1 minute time frame I showed you earlier, dude, this was easily a 3-point stop. Easily. Right? From 38 or even like 37.75, either one. At 38, I want to say it was a 5-minute candle. Yeah, okay. So you see this down candle here? Like that low, or even the body of that could be a stop. Right? Like, so the low of that candle to me could be a stop. And that's at 41.35. So think about that. 41.38 is that 1 minute gap, right? 35 is that 5-minute down candle body low. That's a 3-point stop. Dude said John Felinazzi. That's fucking awesome. I gotta change my name to that now. And so targeting 41, well, let's say this new high here. It's not a lot. It's like a 1 to 2. But again, 41.50 was my final target. So that framed would be a 1 to 4, which is still pretty good. 1 to 4 is nice. So it's just, again, unfortunate because look at price action, right? Look at it. You can obviously tell that if you took that, price went higher by 6 points or so, maybe 7. And then came back, swept those lows here, and then met that same price level at 38. So now me, I'm not someone who is willing to hold a trade like that. Because I could be wrong and say, well, shit, we might distribute there and then bust down and trade lower. And I don't want to hold on to all that. Okay? So I'm fine with that break even here. I mean, I took partial a couple times before that anyway. It's just unfortunate I didn't catch the rest of it. That's trading though. That's trading for you. However, if I'm telling you, if I was in this, I would get out at 41.50 and I'd be done. I would take this and be done. 1:30. Shit. Market closes in an hour and a half. What am I going to expect? This entire range was fucking 12 points from here. 12 points. Oh, what else am I going to get? Another 10 or 12? Maybe at the most. Like, come on, man. I would just bank what I could get. Go do something else, man. Like, books, for example. That's what I was going to tell you about. I got my journal sitting right here. Look at this. Let me pull up OBS for real quick so I can see what I'm talking about. See? I wrote my journal today. Every day. I try to every day. I don't do it every day. That would be a lie. But, you know, I look to do this every day. So today is April 11th. And so for the Daily Stoic Journal, you know, we got that on here. And I think I put you guys onto this already. Here, let me boost up the camera for a minute. I don't know how to like not fucking. There's a way to manually do this where it doesn't fucking take all day. There we go. It's just easier to see for you guys. The Daily Stoic, man. Look at this shit. The Daily Stoic. I'm gonna put out a reel about this and a couple more. I can't obviously tell you now. I could, but I'm not gonna do that. But this book right here, okay, is super, super powerful. Okay, The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. I think Stephen Hanselman, I think it's his assistant, like assistant writer. I'm pretty sure. I could be totally wrong on that, but I'm off the top of my head, I think that's his assistant. But it's 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living. Which is funny because The Art of Living is another book by Epictetus. So Sharon LaBelle did that one. I have that one here too, which I've also recommended in the past. The Art of Living. Epictetus is at the bottom. See that? The Art of Living, translated by Sharon LaBelle. Okay, so it's just funny that you have The Art of Living by Epictetus, and then he puts that in the title too. The Art of Living. So I don't know, I just noticed shit like that and I just think it's cool. But either way, you know, this one's not bad. It's very short, very sweet, to the point. So, you know, if you don't like reading, well, books are fucking too long, well, I don't agree with that. But this one's easy. Okay, they're easy, like 1 or 2 pages, mini chapters, like stuff. You know, don't be a bitch, you know what I mean? Like from me to you, okay? So you feel free to write that one down. All right, look, I love you guys, but just don't be a bitch, okay? That's all I'm saying. But anyway, let me read you this, because I'm already done with the journaling part, and this doesn't take all that long. Okay, 10 minutes a day, and you're good. If I can get the music back up and going. I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can. But either way, come back to this for a minute. Today's, yesterday was really short, but today's is pretty short too. I'll read this to you real quick. So the Daily Stoic for April 11th, if you guys have it, and you haven't read it yet, you can definitely read along. Okay. So real quick, for April 11th, if you want to learn, be humble. So the quote from Epictetus is, throw out your conceited opinions, for it is impossible for a person to begin to learn what he thinks he already knows. And I'll try and get through this pretty quick too. Of all the Stoics, Epictetus was the closest one to a true teacher. He had a school, he hosted classes. In fact, his wisdom is passed down to us through a student who took really good notes. That was Arian, I'm pretty sure. One of the things that frustrated Epictetus about philosophy students, and has frustrated all college professors since time began, is how students claim to want to be taught, but really secretly believe they already know everything. Holy shit. But no comment though, no comment. The reality is that we're all guilty of thinking we know it all, and we'd all learn more if we could set that attitude aside. As smart or successful as we may be, there is always someone who is smarter, more successful, and wiser than us. Emerson put it well, quote, "Every man I meet is my master in some point, and in that I learn from him," end quote. If you want to learn, if you want to improve your life, seeking out teachers, philosophers, and great books is a good start. But this approach will only be effective if you're humble and ready to let go of opinions you already have. Very nice. And so the journal, the prompt for today is related to that. So, I mean, it gives you good insight. It gives you things to reflect on in a journal about. So, you know, for those people that struggle with personal development ideas or struggle on, you know, what to do for personal development, this is it. Okay. John Maxwell has one. I've told you guys about that time and time again. The Maxwell Daily Reader, same thing. Okay, I don't have a journal for this one, but it's 365 days of insight to develop the leader within you and influence those around you. So it's not on leadership about every single one, but it is personal development related as well. So I have both. Well, all three. So technically the Daily Stoic would be one, the Maxwell Daily Reader would be two, and then the journal is a different book, so it's technically three, but it doesn't take all that long. Okay? And you know that old saying, everyone has 24 hours in a day, which is true. And we all spend it doing different things. But if you cannot find 10 minutes in a day, 10 minutes to do a simple journal, you got bigger problems. Much bigger problems that you need to fix. So there's my rant for today. Not that we'll have one every day, but you know, I told you today would probably be more of a discussion anyway, because nothing has really presented itself in the last 45 minutes. This is what I'm reading right now. I shared this last night on my story. It's called The Socrates Express by Eric Weiner. I'm trying to let you guys screenshot it without having the my hand over the title and everything. It's called The Socrates Express by Eric Weiner, which is really cool because just like the quote at the top says, he's hilarious. This is actually very funny. I really enjoy this one. It's kind of long though, I'll be honest. But some of the chapters, how to get out of bed like Marcus Aurelius, how to wonder like Socrates, the one I read last night, how to walk like Rousseau, and the one I started, but I'm gonna probably continue on this later tonight, is how to see like Thoreau, how to listen like Schopenhauer, I think that's how you say that, how to enjoy like Epicurus, how to pay attention like Simon Weil, how to fight like Gandhi, how to be kind like Confucius, how to cope like Epictetus, how to die like Montaigne. I think that's French, so I probably not pronouncing that correctly, but yeah, it's pretty good, man. It's pretty good. This guy basically is on a train. Talks a lot about trains. I mean, the guy's like obsessed with trains. And so he's like writing this book and telling you about all this stuff. So it's cool. I'm digging it. But again, it is a long book. So, you know, if you're going to grab it, just be mindful of that. That's all I'm saying. So, anyways. So now they're kind of back in sync where you see the S&P now trading higher, and then the Dow has basically, you know, followed suit in trading higher, and the Nasdaq is also trading higher. So they were out of sync a little bit there, but now they're you know, kind of back in alignment per se. And one thing I'll look at too is Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo has been a banger the last 3 or 4 days. Look at that. Nice. From 36.54 to 39.34. Daily time frame. Beautiful. Gap. Look at that. Right in that. And that's what you like to see. That's what you like to see. Remember this? Remember Wells Fargo? We swept this low. Told you guys I went long. And that if we were to take the low from June of last year, that I would long that as well. Under that new low. Under that low. Look what our current low is. Right fucking there. Right there. But I missed it. I don't know what I was doing on that day, that Friday. Oh, that's why. It was a Friday. So I said, you know, to hell with everything, and probably went to go hang out with my friends or something. So I definitely missed that. But idea is still the same. Buying below old lows is how you catch lows. That's what I'm saying. So we'll see where this goes. If we absolute just get wrecked on Friday morning, I'll probably get out of my long position. But I'm going to hold this one through earnings. I've accepted the risk. And so this is going to be Friday pre-market. So that means Friday, there's a possibility that we could open with a gap in either direction, or we might not gap at all. So if you want to watch it, I'm either going to get my face ripped off or the opposite. So if you guys want to see that, my target is just above 40 for the option contract. But what I'd like to see for Wells Fargo is probably 44, maybe 45. I don't want to make earnings predictions. I don't want to do that, but you have that gap here on the weekly. Then you have this imbalance there too. And then within that, so if we mark this, if we mark that weekly imbalance, okay? And then go into the daily. The daily has a gap like right there. Has one right there. And it has one way up here too. So to me, like this area, 43.5, 44, I think could be something to target. What I'd like to see is just a gap up there. Like if we gap up on Friday up into that would be mint. That'd be good. That'd be really fucking good, actually. Because, and someone had mentioned this on Twitter the other day, and I agreed with them. And they were talking about like mentors who teach options and don't really, you know, go through it all. You guys, if you've been following me at least for the last like 3 years or so, y'all know I hardly ever speak on options. I don't know options well enough to teach them. Delta, theta. I can't even tell you what the other Greeks are. So obviously, if I can't even name all the Greeks, I don't know what, you know, how to incorporate them into the analysis. So what I predominantly do is take long-term call options. Basically, if I think the market's going to go higher on a longer term basis, like look at JP Morgan, for example, right? JP Morgan took these lows the same time that Wells Fargo took that low. So if I want to buy below old lows, like let's say, for example, the JP Morgan, right? So they have some equal highs up at 144. You could round up to 145. That'd probably be an option strike, or maybe 146. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it. I don't know. Okay. And then you've also above that have this gap at 146, 148. So if we wanted to long something like that, right? If it were me, I'd say, okay, we'll long a new low, right? Just under that low. And I mean, if you want to try and target something more specific, like a weekly imbalance here. Oh, that wouldn't have been bad. Obviously, in hindsight, that wouldn't have been pretty bad. 125, quarter level as well. Then basically what I'm saying is I'll long a new low with the anticipation that it's going to take a few months, but that in a few months from now, we'll take this. So the reason for that, I'll tell you the logic, okay? And I know some of you probably tuned out already because, you know, we're not on indices or FX, and that's totally fine. But hey, if you want to day trade but have some long-term plays behind you, this is the kind of shit I look for. Okay? So what happens is if I play something like this where I'm thinking, okay, I'll give it like 2 quarters, right? 6 months basically, or give or take, obviously, when you enter and the expiry that's available, right? I'm just generalizing here. I'll go, okay, I'll give this 6 months. It'll be higher in 6 months is what I believe. Okay, fine. As long as I don't get raped on theta, which is time decay. Okay. So as long as the trade doesn't sit here and do nothing, because if it sits here and does nothing, usually your option contract will lose value, and it'll lose value faster the closer it gets to expiry. Okay. And again, this is why I don't teach this shit, because it's complicated and it's a lot of shit. But anyway, what'll usually happen between a contract that I buy or multiple contracts that I buy for long-term call options, okay, is there will be an earnings in between that somewhere. So the earnings can do one of 3 things. They can either gap higher, gap lower, or not really do anything, or gap a little bit but not really do much. Okay, now here's where the shit gets fun. If you're in a long-term call option and you have earnings, right? Now let's just say for a second that earnings gaps, you know, 3, 4, 5%, whatever. Let's say 5%. What happens is, and I could be totally wrong, so if you're an options expert, you can call me out, okay? I'm giving you 100% permission. Well, you can call me out on anything at any time, but I'm just saying more specifically, okay? When there is high volatility, there is a premium built into that, okay? Because of volatility. So if we get a move that gaps into our favor, we can capture that, not just the move but also a volatility premium, then you're fucking blessed. Because if you look at options on big earnings days, for example, like just find a stock that's up today anywhere from 5 to 20%. I mean, it doesn't have to be blue chip. It could be some whatever, okay? And if you look at option contracts for that day, you'll see that some of those options are up 100%, 200%, or shit like 50, 75%, right? But that's just that one day. So the reason that, again, another reason I do this, and I'm going to close it off here in just a minute because I got to go here in about 8 minutes. The reason that this doesn't work a lot of the time for a lot of people, okay? First things first is, just like the majority of Forex traders lose money, is 80% or more of options expire worthless, okay? The reason that sometimes these plays can be really lucrative is because these option contracts for this strike price, 145, maybe 150, they are cheap, okay? They are very, very cheap because they are so far OTM, Okay, OTM means out of the money. So in order for that contract to expire with value, price would have to trade from 128 all the way up to 145, 150, whatever the strike happens to be. And in terms of probabilities, the market is unlikely to do that. Why? It's just because it's a big ass move. And calling a big ass move is just not likely. So let's say, for example, and again, this is entirely hypothetical. Let's say to get to 150. Yeah, let's just say 150. Okay. That contract might cost you, let's just say $200 a contract. Okay. If the market, and this is for like 8 months out, okay? Because it's all different, because there's all types of expiry, weekly, monthly, all kind of shit. And so what happens is, let's just say it's $200 today. Okay. Starts to go in your favor, so it might be worth like $250, maybe $300, right? After a certain point. And then all of a sudden it gaps and it jams up. It doesn't even have to hit 150. It could jam up just to the equal highs. And that fucking contract might be worth $700-800 or more. It could be worth 1,000 or more, 1,200 or more. You know what I'm saying? So the reason that options sometimes can pay out really fucking well is because they're unlikely to be, you know, in the money per se. That's how, you know, options are priced based off of like probabilities and all this other crazy ridiculousness. Okay. So basically, since the chances are low, the reward is very high. Okay. And you can, bro, you can back test this. I'm telling you, because look at this. You could go back to October. Okay. You can go back to October and you can look at the strike price history for all these levels here. Matter of fact, let me see if I can do that real quick. Just to prove a point. And let me pull up the indices just in case shit is happening without us. Because I'll be mad as shit. I'll be like, we waited and then we missed it. Because I'm over here trying to teach about options and shit. We ain't done anything. All right. So what I'm going to do is real quick. You want to learn how to backtest options? We'll do JP Morgan. We'll go to options prices, and then we'll do let me come back to this. We'll study previous moves, okay? So I can prove a point. This was October 2022. Shit, I hope we can have history. Unless it doesn't give us. I've done this before, but it's been a while. Barchart.com will allow you to go back in history. So this would be shit, I did this before, now I forgot how to do it. Oh, that's right. Oh, I need to hit a specific one, I think. That allows you to trade options. You can go look at the history and it'll tell you. It'll show you. So basically, options are the further out price is away from your strike, like the cheaper they get. The reason it's cheaper is because it's unlikely to be hit. So when price actually gets to your strike price, because it's so close to the price, now the probability is a lot higher. So the option becomes way more expensive. Does that make sense? I wanted to like show you actual numbers because they let you look at the history of it. But they're not, I guess they changed it. Because they used to give me like 2 years of history. I'd be able to see it. $16 a month billed annually. Just for the fucking history? That's crazy. Alright, well. They must have knew that I was gonna start showing you this shit. And they were like, nah. So they, bar chart may not have it anymore. What did we say that was on JP Morgan? This was like October of 2022. This was not working either. All right, well, anyway, I'm gonna have to figure this out another time. But hopefully I explained that in the way that I wanted to. Basically, it's just low probability, so the options are cheap. But if we deem it as a high probability trade, then that to me is opportunity. There is a lesson I've done on this before. We did some shit with Walmart options a long time ago, and I was able to look at the history and show you. But I guess we can't do that anymore. It was way back in here. It was this shit. I think it was this one. I think we longed that in here for this gap. And then we got that volatility premium in here. Yeah, you didn't think I remember that shit, did you? That was 2 years ago. Because it was something off the monthly in here. Look at that monthly imbalance. Yeah, see, how the fuck did I remember that? March of 2021. So it was reacting off a monthly imbalance and then a daily imbalance for the run. So there is a history somewhere of us doing this shit. And we got really, really nice movement on that. But it's just unfortunate I can't show you the options prices because you're not going to understand what I'm saying. See, like even with Walmart, right? New lows, price came down in there, gapped, return right there, boom, price runs. Like that to me is a good long-term long position or this high, or even this one. So when it gaps up like that in your favor, yeah. But options can also rip your face off. But the best, I'll close it out with this. Best part about options, in my opinion, is that whatever you put into it, you can't lose more than that. Your option can't go negative. So if an options contract is $100, and let's just say you buy two, right? You bought two of them at $100 each, so that's $200. If the market fucking goes to zero, nothing, you lose your 200, but you don't lose more than that. So to me, it's like, it's not day trading, but if you feel like stocks are bullish long term, like look at this shit on Walmart, big ass gap down, and then we start to consolidate, right? So if you long in here with the expectation of just set and forget, and you can call big moves, you're just not good at timing, or like me, sometimes I'm not good at timing, right? And you sit on that option, then yeah, you can do pretty well. But it just all depends. But that's why I'm going to cut it for today. So hopefully you guys were able to learn something, or be inspired at least to read and do things. The final hour, what we do, dude, I really don't know. This may be distribution. We may trade, end up trading lower. But what's the target? We don't have really clean lows to look for. And I think we have some highs. Anyway. So we have some equal highs on the NASDAQ up here. We have equal highs right there. And we also have equal highs on the S&P right there. And the Dow is due to anyway, so I wouldn't short with equal highs. So yeah, I'm not going to do anything the rest of today. So hopefully you enjoyed today's discussion. I'll go ahead and close this off here. But I can't recommend any brokers to you, Ivan. So, y'all be blessed. Thanks, Nick. Thank you for your time as well.